Hi, I'm Rhonda.
I'm Jeff. We've been on the PCT for a little over a week now, and we're in Dunsmuir, California, taking a zero. I want to thank Rob and Bev for their gracious generosity and letting us stay with them in Carson City for 3 weeks or so, 3.5 weeks, while Rhonda's knee healed. And thank you to Terry and to Dan for allowing us in their home for so long while we helped Rob and Bev move. And it was such a blessing and it was such a savings for us. And they were so generous and we really appreciate it a lot. So thank you.
We rented a car in Reno and drove to Redding, California. And on the way there, we happened to stop in a little town called Old Station. And the PCT happens to go right through there. And we saw some hikers standing beside the side of the road. So we stopped and picked them up and took them to the local post office. And so we got to meet some of the hikers even before we started the trail. So that was kind of exciting for us.
Frosty, Socks, Cobbler, and Supertramp.
Yes.
Were their names.
Yes.
And we actually saw them later last week then, because they were moving really fast and we weren't.
Yes. Yeah, they caught up to us within a couple of days, even though we started the trail several miles ahead of them at that point.
50 miles ahead of them, yeah.
So, but that was fun. A couple of days later, after that group passed us on the trail, we were starting out in the morning and came across somebody and realized as we got closer to her that it was Frosty, and she was in a lot of pain from a shoulder injury and she had fallen behind the rest of the group. And so we stayed with her throughout the morning and tried to help her. A little later that day, we came across another couple who were camping in the area, and they had the name of a person who could probably help. So we tried. She texted him and asked if she could get a ride into town so she could get her shoulder taken care of. He was going to come pick her up on a road that the PCT crossed.
The guy came up and there's lots of gates, so he couldn't get to her, and she was so devastated, disappointed, and in so much pain. So while we were having dinner at this campsite with this other couple that we met that evening, Frosty came up the trail and was in tears, just so happy to see us and to catch up with us. And she went with that couple the next day into a town.
Yeah. We started out at Burney Falls, and beautiful falls. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous there.
Spectacular.
Yes. And when we got there, it was early morning, so it was about about 8:30 or so. So I guess, but it was pretty chilly. It was rather cold and damp from the spray of the falls.
Misty breeze, yeah.
So we didn't stay there very long, but it was absolutely beautiful. So far this week, we have done about, or a little over, 82 miles, and with about 31,000, or a little over 31,000 feet of elevation change.
A little over 15,000 up and a little over 16,000 down.
Yes, so quite steep in some areas, and we are getting better.
Yeah, we've averaged 11.9 miles per day, which is at the high end of what we were hoping. We were hoping between 10 and 12. So, and we wanted to limit it to that. As we get stronger, we'll go farther every day, but we don't want to push it too much or we'll get injured, and then that would just really screw up the whole thing, wouldn't it?
Yes. As the knee has already done to some extent, but
Yeah, well, the knee is doing much better,
Yes, yes.
and
And
you've
I've
been
been
wearing a
Yeah,
compression sleeve on it, so it's doing much,
Yes.
much better.
yes, it doesn't bother me at all during the day. So that's really good.
We've had wonderful views of Mount Shasta, just stunning, and all the old growth trees in the forest. We're looking at it right now outside our motel window here in
Yes.
Dunsmuir,
Yes,
and it's just absolutely beautiful, and we couldn't be more thrilled for the adventure.
yes. And the wildflowers are just,
This experiment of an adventure that we're taking is all about finding out what's necessary versus what's wanted. And so far, it's been going really well. We haven't needed much that we don't have,
yes.
and it's been an education. We've really been trying to figure out how to rely more on God, and this is helping us do that. The anxiety of not knowing what's coming, but knowing that He goes before us makes it a little bit easier to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the video that we've got we'll show you here, and hope you enjoy it, and thank you for watching.
It was really interesting. The couple that we met when we were with Frosty, that gave us the name of the gentleman to call. We met later that afternoon when we were getting ready to stop for the day, and they had camped in a spot that had several spots in it. So they invited us to stay in one of the spots next to them. So we set up our tent, and then we sat down and started talking with them a little bit, and found out that they actually live in Saddlebrook. And so we had lived within a few miles of each other in Tucson, and we met on the PCT.
Yeah.
it was really
and
good.
it turns out that Denny, Sally, and Summit, their dog, Denny grew up in Columbia City, which was in the same high school conference that we were in.
Yeah, growing
And
up.
So what are the odds of meeting somebody that we were so close, never knew each other, and became new friends on the trail?
Yes.
And by the way, we don't talk about people who haven't given their permission for us to say their names. So I want to make that clear, that we're not just giving information out about people. They said it was okay to talk about them.
Yes,
So,
yes. And we've met several other people too. It's been really interesting to find out a lot of people here from Canada and from New Zealand and from Australia.
the UK.
And, yeah, it's just been really fascinating
Yeah.
to talk to people.
We've seen more people visiting from overseas than we have Americans here on the trail.
Yes.
Most of these people started before the lockdown, and they couldn't get home after the lockdown, so they just decided to keep going.
Yes.
And so now the bubble is coming up right behind us. Hopefully we'll be in good enough shape to actually stay with some if we hit it off with them.
Yeah, but we'll see.
There is so much old growth, cedar, Jeffrey pine, ponderosa in this section. It's just absolutely amazing. It's so cool. Between every two pines is a doorway to a new world. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.